Done a lot of work in the 80s, a lot of pub work, never got paid obviously, and the pubs are probably the hardest and the most boringest jobs to do because you end up playing the same records all the time. That was Kevin from Jupiter Roadshow. Not the Planet. Like the Planet, he had a very big disco. Big show. And he was one of the best DJs that I have seen who works with children. He was a lot better than I was with kids. He was a nice bloke. I haven't seen him for some time. But his show was a lot bigger than mine. Well, that's a lot bigger than most people's. Great, absolutely great. Party games and all that stuff. He was brilliant. I was still working with Richard and Stephen time to time. I don't know if I'd done the odd booking with Robert. I might have done. And then, of course, James, who actually named my son after, came knocking on the door. When I'm outside in my mum's garden, her memorial garden, there's a sign up behind me, I don't know if you can see it, for my mum. Emma had that done. Anyway, up to the part where I'm working with Jim. He came up to me one day in a disco, I think I'd done the Cricketers or somewhere like that. He said to me, would I be interested in working with him as 50-50 partners? Now, I already had a disco at this stage, but Jim told me he would make a massive light show. He was very good at carpentry. He was really good at that, and I wired them all up. So obviously I said yes. So for the next 3.5 years and a lot of shows, I worked with Jim. He was one of the best DJs I've ever known. The reason the disco finished, this was time, the reason it finished is Jim had lost his father and had a few personal problems, and he wanted out. So I sold the disco, not everything, to little Anthony, who is on one of the pictures. And then the strange thing is, Anthony offered me a job. So I went to work with, I think it was the A&T Discos. And we done some good shows with him. He had a van and I used to drive his van for him, because by this time I'd passed my driving test. We've got a clip of a disco I ran with Anthony Very good DJ. He was absolutely, well, I wouldn't say brilliant, but he was excellent. He'd say brilliant, but I would say he was really good.
Talk!
Talk?
Yeah.
That's a long way away. Out of this world, and it was a very good show, very big, nearly as big as Kevin's disco. And we done some massive bookings for some quite famous people.
What the?
Decided I would start up again, and I ended up buying Anthony out, and I was back on my own. I know what you're thinking, Neville's back in the show. Well, it's not. I was working with Anthony. He had a mate called John, who I got on really, really well with. He done a lot of roadieing and stuff. Anthony wouldn't really give him the chance to do anything. I don't know why, he just wouldn't. We done a few shows together, just me and John, because Anthony was either ill or he couldn't do it or something through work. And we got on really well. I let him DJ, he was alright, he was learning. I taught Anthony to DJ, he was like an apprentice of mine. I decided to launch my own show. Hence Time Warp 2. Whoa, and John, me and John era. And we called it Time Warp 2, which was a bit of a mistake, but here you go.
Louie, we're back.
It would never been as good as Time Warp 1 because Jim was a brilliant DJ. I'm not saying John wasn't, but he was learning. But we had some good shows. And we was together for quite a while. Discos. A&T Disco. Out of This World. Time Warp 2. Back to Spiral. SKS. And there was more. I worked with Andy. A lot of the bookings I'd done, I didn't even use a name. Some of the bookings I'd done, I was all on my own. Now I'll do that. Put my glasses back on. My only fear of doing out here is sound.